You know, there are some people out there that wonder why Trump does not want these Epstein files to go out. And this is why he's trying to deflect with war, with anything that he can for these things not to get out. Well, I've mentioned many a times about this individual named Sasha Riley. Um, I think people just heard the name and just kind of brushed it off. Who's Sasha Riley? What does it mean? Well, he is one of Trump's victims and Epstein's victims. So, what I'm going to do is I have Sasha Riley's testimony on what had happened to him over the years with Andy Biggs, with Clarence Thomas, a couple of people, and also millionaires and billionaires that were there. And this is one of the reasons why Trump does not want this stuff to get out. But this guy's even in the Epstein files. He has a number in the Epstein files. But I caught an interview with him and a journalist from Canada. So what I had to do was I had to cut some of this out to make it short because there's like two parts to it. And each part is like something like maybe 45 minutes long. So I managed to cut it down to the parts where the main characters are mentioned in his interview. So I'm going to play it for you now. I think this is all that I am going to add to this video is just his interview. So please like and share, and please share, because more people need to know why the reasons why Donald Trump does not want these Epstein files to go out, why he's willing to put our soldiers' lives in danger and being killed. Why every time Epstein files start to pick up steam, he pulls off something else to deflect from the Epstein files themselves. So let me play for you exactly Sasha Riley's interview. It's not video one and not video two, although I would like to do that, but they are very long. So I had to edit some of it so it would be shorter. And so some of it was kind of cut down so YouTube would not hesitate to play this video. So let me get to it right away. And it's pretty disturbing. I don't know why I said I like and share. It's not something to like, not at all. But it is something to share to let people know exactly why all of this is going on and why our country is falling apart because Trump doesn't want these files to get out. And just like he told Marjorie Taylor Greene, if this video gets out, it's going to hurt all his friends because these were millionaires and billionaires that was with Epstein at the time. Okay? So let's get to it.
Memories that seared itself into my consciousness because of being what I.
Oh, I'm just checking here.
So I, to kind of recap what we were just talking about, the one of the first memories that seared itself into my consciousness because of being what I perceived as a threat as a child was watching Donald Trump kill a litter of puppies. He did it in a variety of ways. As I stood there, they made me stand there, and he would harm or kill the puppy and then look to see what my reaction was. And in my child's brain, that registered because I viewed him as somebody more dangerous than my parents, and I knew that they would hurt me. So in my ability to reason, my reasoning was if they were worse people than my parents, that they were somebody that might kill me. So that is why he was so. That's why I most of the stuff I just tried to forget. But with him, with Andy, and with Jim, I remembered them because they. The truth is, they scared me.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to summarize a bit about what we had discussed that wasn't recorded. So with Trump, when Trump murdered the puppies and forced you to watch, you were 8 or 9 years old. That was your first remembrance of Trump. And had Trump sexually assaulted and tortured you already?
Maybe, but I don't recall. I think what happened, and I'm relatively certain, but I think that was the precursor to him sexually assaulting me.
So
I think that was in an effort to make the experience as brutal as possible for me. That was the same kind of MO that was used with Patricia later on.
Mm-hmm.
So it seemed to be that he would use his imagination as such to try to figure out what ways would be the most traumatic, to make the most traumatic experience, to destroy somebody, kind of traumatize somebody to the maximum potential possible.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first template of that was watching him kill those puppies. And then the next higher order of that, and I couldn't tell you exactly how much time passed between, but I would say likely a couple of years, or at least a year later, before the instance with Patricia.
Okay. And the incident with Patricia was when...
And at that point...
Yeah.
At that point, I had already, in my mind, I had already thought there's no way I'm going to live through this anyway. They're just going to torture me to death anyway. So I might as well do everything I can to fight back.
Okay. And so with the incident with Patricia, then recapping, they told you to go into another room with Patricia. There was film? They were filming?
No.
There wasn't filming in such a case?
What happened with me and Patricia, my dad, before we got to the party, said, hey, there may be somebody you know. I had been trafficked with her previously.
Yeah.
But she and I were as close to being friends as you could be. We were, in the same boat as far as, our station in life. So we had kind of become friends, and she ran up to me, and I can remember she's saying, hey, come go with me. And I said, I can't. And my dad said, no, it's okay. You guys go off and have fun. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, you can go just have fun. You're an adult now. And I can remember thinking in my mind, I was wondering, what happens next? And the only thing that I knew of really of being an adult was my dad. And I knew that he didn't go to these parties and get assaulted. So in my mind, I thought, well, maybe that part of my life is over. But anyway, we left. We wound up going into the farmhouse. We went into the room not at the behest of anybody else. She wanted to have sex with me because she knew I wouldn't hurt her. Mm-hmm. I believe, I wouldn't swear to this part, but I am relatively certain she and I had already made some movies together off, not at the farm, but at a shoot. But I I didn't have sex in a way that brutalized people, because I kind of knew how that felt. So it was a matter of her kind of choosing somebody to try to go have sex with, so she wouldn't be placing her life in danger by having sex with one of these rich guys. So we went in and started having sex. This was not in front of anybody. It wasn't filmed that I know of. It was just, we kind of, if we were going to have the opportunity to go have sex with somebody, we were going to go have sex with each other, because that, in that instance, neither of us would get hurt. Mm-hmm. But while we were in that room, after some period of time, the people at that party busted in, 5, 6, 8 maybe people, big people, adults. At least one of them had a gun. I think 3 or 4 of them had a gun, to be honest with you. But then they assaulted her with me at gunpoint, and then they killed her in front of me. Mm-hmm. And said, that's what's going to happen to you if you don't do everything the next person that walks in this room what they want.
Do you think they knew Trump was going to walk in the room? Do you think they had premeditated that Trump would walk in the room next?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that was just part of the experience for him, to traumatize me. And for all I know, he was watching through a crack in the wall. I don't know about that.
So like an escalation from the puppies.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah. Trump would traumatize you first and then sexually assault you. There was the incident when Trump murdered the puppies and forced you to watch. And then the incident when Trump had Patricia killed.
Yes.
Okay. And then that's the incident with Patricia we spoke about, where Trump assaulted you, tortured you, and then Trump wanted you to engage in sex with Trump, and you found the tent peg and got a condom on, and then inserted the condom in Trump's anus,
and kicked it as hard as I could.
And kicked as hard as you could. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And my plan was to continue hurting him to death, but as soon as I did that, he started screaming, and those same people busted back in. So.
And then what occurred?
My dad was at that party, obviously not in that room. It was just these other people, but we did not get assaulted or anything at that party. They didn't know what to do at that point. So we left. We didn't get beat up. I didn't get further assaulted by anyone, but some period of time passed, a week, 2 weeks, 6 weeks. I couldn't tell you how much time, but I can remember my dad saying, we've got to go face the music. So, I can remember him talking to me like I had done something wrong. He said, you can't do that to the rich people. You're going to get beat up, is basically what he said. He said, you've been beat up before. It's going to be just like that. You'll be okay. But I can remember him saying, you can't fight back or they'll kill us both.
Mm-hmm. And that's when you were taken to the farm, and then 6 or 8, maybe 10 different groups assaulted and tortured you.
This is like, it was at least 3 or 4 or 5 people at a time in these groups, because I think by that point I had done what I did to Trump. They knew that I was kind of in a homicidal type of rage, so they made sure to have enough people that they felt safe. Because also my dad could fight too, and he was there. Mm-hmm. So they had, in each of these little groups, they had enough that they felt that I'm sure that they could overpower both me and my dad, because my dad's no slouch either. I could fight like a little Wolverine even as a child because of how I came up. Well, he was a bare-knuckle boxer and a tough man type of dude, so he could fight too. But it was like they took us from station to station, you know, to I don't know, just to increase the horror of it. I guess I really
Premeditated. Seems like premeditated.
yeah, oh, yes.
Like,
well,
what I know
yeah,
of Trump is that
like,
Trump would attempt to premeditatedly stage such a scene to terrorize you retaliatorily.
yes, yes.
So
he wasn't there at that. I would assume that he was. It was a close enough time frame that he was still recovering.
yeah.
But I can remember that even my dad having the conversation with the people because of the level that they had kind of taken it to get me to that homicidal rage. I remember my dad arguing that it was unreasonable. He said, you know, this is just what happens when you push somebody far enough, you know?
So then
An argument.
So then they took you to different locations, several groups at a time, tortured and assaulted you sexually, and then at one point you said they hosed you off with a garden hose. And what did they say again to your dad? That you were dirty and to hose you off?
Just that they said he's disgusting. Just take a garden hose to him or something. And somebody went inside the house and got a bar of soap. And I remember they threw it at me and hit me in the head, and that they all thought that was funny. And I was struggling because I had to get the soap from the ground, and I can remember being hit to the point where I was just having trouble grasping the soap. Not just from a standpoint of like being able to see it, but like from the coordination aspect of it. Mm-hmm. Just because I'd been hit in the head and body and everything so much that I even had difficulty in getting the soap. So they made me like take a shower while they stood there with the garden hose just hosing me off. And I can remember getting really cold from that. But then it wasn't over. That would have been about the halfway point.
And you said it was sexual assault followed by beatings in all of those cases.
Yes. Some people didn't even want to sexually assault me. Some people just wanted to beat the hell out of me. So not all of them, they got to do whatever they wanted, but with all of the different people, it included some sort of physical assault, physical and sexual assault, or just the physical. There weren't any instances of just sexual assault. It was around causing damage to me, and towards the end of it, I can remember my dad saying he can't take anymore. He's going to die.
Yeah.
And you know, at that point, he had like drugged me because I couldn't walk or anything to one of the groups, and they said if he can't take any more, it's not over with. You're going to have to take the rest of it. And he said, fine, because I'm going to go to jail and kill him. So they beat the absolute hell out of him, too.
Okay.
I can
Biggs tortured and raped you?
Not immediately thereafter, but another week or two passed, or maybe a month, week, two, whatever. I was healed as far as my most of my bruises and stuff like that from the first farm incident by the time I went to Andy Biggs. And of the physical assaults, it was the worst. He kept beating me until my ribs were broken. I was turning blue, convulsing. If you get beaten enough, as you try to breathe, you just kind of click. I can't describe it any other way than that. It's not even a wheezing or anything, but your like diaphragm or something locks up and you just start clicking.
Mm-hmm.
Some people call that like the death rattle.
Yeah.
But that's the point to which he beat me, to where when I would try to breathe, my chest would just make this clicking noise. And I know that he had worked kind of just beating people up for, a little extra money at one point in his life. He also entered into like the tough man contest, stuff like that. So it was kind of a game for them because I was just a child, so you would think that you could just, do whatever you wanted. But if they got anywhere near me, I would hit them. And by the time that Jim Jordan assaulted me, I was old enough that those adults, most of them not being athletic in any way, these are people that, they're not fighters by any stretch.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't get anywhere near me. And Jim Jordan just sort of rushed me and tackled me. And I might have known how to fight, but I didn't know how to wrestle. So he assaulted me in front of a crowd, and I think that it was filmed, but I can't swear that it was filmed, but it was in front of those 25 or 50 people. I remembered. I was around 12.
12.
When that happened.
And of those 25,
And
50 people... sorry, go ahead.
The reason that I remember Jim Jordan is, first, he stood out because he wasn't that much. He's only like 7 or 8 years older than me. So at the time frame that I'm at 12, he is right around just graduating high school, maybe first year or two of college, right? So him being so much younger stood out. And then I remembered his jawline. He has a very pronounced jawline. I remembered his voice. And his mannerisms haven't changed throughout his life either. So when I really started, as soon as Trump went down that escalator and said he was running for president, I got involved in politics. I started watching it. I started watching who supported him and everything like that. And I remember Jim Jordan just from watching him on the floor of Congress, speaking to the different people that go up there and testify. So, and that's him. I just remembered him. So
yeah,
I know that's not a lot, but you give me a polygraph, I'm going to take it because I'm 100% sure that it was him.
Mm-hmm.
And Andy Biggs, I remember because on the way to this, they took me to a house. This wasn't at a party. This was later after I had assaulted Trump, and it was kind of a punishment type of thing where he was going to get to assault me and I guess not pay my parents, and he got to do whatever he wanted. And I can remember telling me I wasn't allowed to fight back or they'd kill me, and all of this, but they must have said his name 50 times in the car. So Biggs I kept hearing Biggs, Andy Biggs, and I thought, I'm going to remember this name. And after he assaulted me, I don't even remember the assault necessarily, but I remember being in the car afterwards and being like really nauseous, sick to my stomach. I was seeing spots, and I mean, the guy beat me until I had broken ribs and was convulsing, turning blue and stuff like that. And the only part of that assault that I can remember is laying on the floor of the room trying to breathe. And I could hear Andy and my dad screaming back and forth at each other. And I can remember Andy Biggs saying, "You said I could do whatever I wanted." And my dad saying, "I didn't say you could fucking kill him." And, I think they may have actually thrown blows over it, but there was a heated argument and everything going on for an extended period of time. And then I can remember being in the car, leaving, and just having my eyes closed because my head was spinning and everything, and I was just trying to breathe, just in and out,
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I remember him so clearly. I have had more than one encounter with Trump, and that's why I tried to kill that son of a bitch, because he is a fucking monster. It's why I have not shut up about just how absolutely abhorrent he is. That's why I tried to kill him.
Yeah.
Because I had decided, I had already seen enough other people die that in my mind I thought, well, they're just going to kill me too at some point, right? I'm not going to survive to be an adult from this. So in my mind, he was the biggest pile of shit that I had ever had to have any contact with. So I was going to take him with me. And
how often did Trump assault you? Do you remember?
I can remember two specifically. A third one that I think, and I think I was around him more than just those 3 times, but only 3 times do I kind of remember. I can remember at one point him asking the people that were kind of running that party or whatever it was at that farm, he wanted to kill somebody. He wanted to murder somebody. And they said, hey, that's not this kind of party. You can't do that. And in lieu of doing that, they said, well, we've got some puppies. If you just want to kill something, we've got to get rid of them anyway. So I can remember him taking those puppies one by one, and like he snapped one of the puppies' necks. He cut one open and let it just howl and writhe in pain while it died. Held one under some water to kill it. He wanted to kill those puppies in whatever gruesome way, to experience, I guess, seeing them suffer in different ways. What his kink is, I guess, if you want to call it that, is watching people suffer. He likes to destroy people physically, mentally, during the process of the assault. That's why he stands out so much in my memory. And it's physical pain, and then it's also, degrading and all of that. But his thing was to just try to destroy human beings to the utmost that he could possibly do it, which is why I attacked him.
Yeah, that's understandable. So,
I can tell you this: the last one, okay, so this was after they had killed the Samantha, was the black girl that I made the one of the movies with.
Yeah. And these were. Let me just ask a question, just to clarify. So when Samantha was killed, these were all of these parties at the farm or similar locations to the farm, where there was
it was multiple farms.
Multiple farms, and usually
yes.
It was parties. So there was individuals like Trump that were flown into the parties, and
yes.
then
and they would have like a building, a house, and they would usually have like a tent set up, and it was almost like a little, I don't want to say a fair. It wasn't that big. They didn't have rides or anything, but it was a kind of a coordinated deal, Sometimes they would have the bare knuckle fighting. That probably is how my dad got involved with these people, because and stuff like that on TV, but that's really all you had back in the 70s and 80s. The more the MMA type of stuff wasn't allowed, and these fights were a little more gruesome. They didn't fight to the death or anything like that, but they were bloody, and these were fights, and not just boxing. And so the rich people would pay to see that. Sometimes they'd have like a band playing, just like what you would expect at like a fair or something,
So the rich folks would get flown in, associated with mm-hmm. Epstein, and they would pay to watch the victims fight. The victims were all underage. And would they pay to then assault the victims after the fights or during
yes.
the fights? And they'd pay to torture the victims and rape the victims
yes.
and kill the victims.
But now some of the fights were adults. So if they had some big old country boy and some other guy, they would pay to see that. They would also pay to watch the kids fight, and they did pay to watch me fight. I would fight other kids, and my dad was my initial trainer for me to learn how to fight. I would later go on to be a boxer, an amateur boxer. But and the experiences were different each time. There wasn't like a set thing. You never really knew what was going to happen. So part of it, a lot of it just comes down to money. So if they offered $5,000 to have sex with me, then my dad was willing to do that.
Yeah.
whatever the dollar
Sa-
amounts were. I don't
Sasha,
know.
that isn't sex. That's sexual assault.
Right.
With a lot of the Republicans you mentioned, like you said, Clarence Thomas and Lindsey Graham were at these parties. You can't remember if
Yes.
Lindsey Graham and Clarence Thomas participated. And it's sort of a question of, did they participate? Were they blackmailed because they were there, attended the parties, but they didn't participate? Can you tell me much more about Clarence Thomas and Lindsey Graham?
I know the least about him. The only reason that I can remember him is because he was a black man, and I'm sorry, but that club is pretty much just white folks. So having a black person there was very unusual. So he stood out. But the only thing that I can really say is that I remembered him being there, and then I remember what a big deal it was in our household when he got confirmed onto the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
Because my dad was excited about that because of how high up he was. Now, I can't swear. I may have been assaulted by Clarence Thomas, but I cannot swear to that.
Yeah.
If he did assault me, then it was not to the level of something that scared me to the point where I needed to remember it, if that's a good way to put that, which Trump rose to that, and Andy Biggs rose to that, and Jim Jordan rose to that because he was dangerous to me because I could keep most people away from me with my fists, but, he was a good wrestler, so, he scared me in that sense that this is a person that I can't keep away from me with my fists. Fairly sure he has assaulted me, but I just can't put my hand on a Bible and swear to that.
Yeah.
I know that he was there. I can remember it. He just like Jim Jordan, he has very distinct mannerisms, and his voice is a little unusual as well. So I could remember his voice, I could remember his mannerisms, and then obviously how he looks. So I can put him there, but I just can't. I can't say he did this or he did that exactly. I just can't.
Okay. So
I wish that I could provide more information on that because I think some things went on, but that's just not enough for me to point a finger and make an accusation. Set up for that. I can remember my dad, before we went to the farm, this was when we lived in Enterprise, Alabama.
Yeah.
So it would have been about 81 to 82, somewhere in there, maybe as late as 83. But he said there may be somebody that you know there. And I can remember the look on his face, and it scared the shit out of me. But anyway, when I got to the farm, of course, I'm scared at the farm because I don't know what's going to happen. But the first person that comes up to me is a girl named Patricia. This is a girl that I had been trafficked with before. And she came running up to me and, said hello or whatever. She was about my same age, around 12 or 13. And I can remember my dad saying, well, why don't you guys go run off and or whatever and have fun. And I can remember not knowing what to do in that instance because, these parties weren't for me. I wasn't. And then he said something to the effect of, no, it's not like that for you anymore. You're a man now. You can just go out and have fun. Well, we went to go have sex. So we went and found a room and started having sex. And while we were having sex, people burst into the room. It would have been 4, 5, 6 guys, big guys, adults. At least one of them had a gun. I think 2 or 3 of them had guns. But they came in, they assaulted her, they beat on her, and then they shot her while she was still in the bed. They didn't beat or assault me, but what they said was, if you don't do everything that the next person coming in here wants, we're going to shoot you just like we did her. And I can remember them having like an argument because they shot her in the bed and then they had to go find another mattress. Well, that's when Trump came in. So that's why I remember him so vividly. And it was at that point I had already decided they're probably just going to kill me anyway. I'm going to take him with me. And I tried, but I did not.
how did you? So obviously Trump was extremely violent. Trump's
Yes.
a sadistic psychopath. When Trump assaulted you, so sexual assault and physical assault?
Yes. So
And
at one point, well, I kind of acquiesced to whatever sexual things that he wanted to do. But at some point, he wanted me to have sex with him. So he laid down on his stomach, and there was a wooden tent stake that was in the room, and I had been eyeballing it as a weapon. And what I did was put the condom on the wooden tent stake, put it inside of him, and I kicked it as hard as I could. And that's why he had to get life flighted out, because I ripped him open.
I'm sorry. Do you ever watch the movie The Equalizer?
No, I haven't seen it.
Denzel Washington, sort of like justice when everyone involved in American law enforcement can't get any justice. That would be a sort of situation, obviously. I laughed because there's poetic justice there, Sasha.
That was what facilitated. Not only did I get really assaulted by Andy Biggs, I also got assaulted by like an entire party's worth of people. They took
after Trump was airlifted out.
Yeah, a whole nother party. So they took me to another party after that, and because I had done that to one of those rich people, they took me from like station to station, and they could do whatever they wanted. Most of them just beat on me. I can remember me standing there. I'd already gotten beaten up, I don't know, 5-6 times, and I can remember somebody urinated on me, and I said, "Thank you for not hurting me." And he just hauled off and punched me in the side of the head and knocked me out. I can remember leaving that party, and my dad was just kind of dragging me out of there. It was another instance, just like with Andy Biggs, where I got beaten to the point where, the room was spinning. I was nauseous, probably throwing up, maybe some broken bones, badly.
And how many perpetrators did you say again? 20 to 40? 25 to 40 perpetrators?
People that were there, yes. I would say probably 8 or 10 that just beat the absolute hell out of me.